newsletter, Euan McGlashan, here with Euan McGlashan from Valor Hospitality, co-founder and CEO. And Euan, it dawns on me this morning that just last week we had a full crew of journalists at the Hunter Conference. You guys are an Atlanta-based company. It would have saved all of us a lot of hassle to do this interview in Atlanta versus Berlin, but I'm glad you took the time today.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here. Appreciate it.
So I guess we'll start broadly. Obviously, you guys are a multinational hotel operations platform. What's new and interesting in the world of Valor?
Well, I mean, when you say what's new and interesting, I founded the business in 2012 with Steve Sessinger, who's just recently retired. And today we are 72 hotels in 25 countries around the world. Mm-hmm. And I think now we're around about 100 hotels. So 7,500 hoteliers, staff mm-hmm. around in all our hotels, and about 180 in the corporate offices. Mm-hmm. So we're growing nicely, we're scaling. I'm out right now trying to do a capital raise so that we can get to kind of the next best version of ourselves. And mm-hmm. I think we could probably double in size over the next 2 or 3 years. And then obviously right now, when you say what's new, right now it's crazy the way the world is right now. It's bonkers, but now mm-hmm. we're obviously dealing with the situation in the Middle East, which besides the fact we have an office in Dubai and there's been a big impact. Mm-hmm. Obviously now all the oil prices are trickling mm-hmm. down to all the consumers around the world. So that's what we're dealing with right now. But there's a lot of good stuff.
I didn't want to lead with the bad news about the Middle East, fine. But I guess since you brought it up, let's talk about it. I mean, how is that impacting your business so far, and kind of what are your expectations from how that will progress from a business perspective?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I care about my team that are mm-hmm. over there, and I care about all the people that are on the ground. It feels kind of COVID-ish, actually, again, because hotels occupancies are just plummeting. We're spending a lot of time really trying to pivot and figure out what we're going to do with the hotels, probably close floors. Mm-hmm. So I hope it's short-lived, but first and foremost, I really fear for the people on the ground. Or when I say I fear, I care about them and I want to make sure that they're safe. Mm-hmm. That's got to be priority number one.
Yeah. I mean, I guess just to contrast that, if you're talking about right now, it looks a bit like COVID in terms of, performance. Yeah. I mean, what were your expectations for 26 in that region before everything happened?
Our expectations were great. I mean, occupancies were up. Business was starting to really pick up. We were picking up a lot of new projects, a lot in Saudi, more in Dubai. So we had a fantastic plan for the year. Mm-hmm. And again, just like COVID, 2020 should have been one of our strongest years ever. Mm-hmm. And then we went into lockdown for 2 years. So let's hope it's not 2 years. I'm really praying that this is as short-lived as it can be and life can get back to normal.
Mm-hmm. I guess this kind of speaks to the fact, too, that, if it feels like in recent years, some people have tried to move away from the operations piece of the business just because it is fundamentally the most difficult part, right? I mean, it's where you can deliver value, but it's also where you Correct. Have to do the actual work of hospitality.
Yeah.
It feels like doing it the way you guys do it, which is, all across the world, dealing with different cultures and all of the geopolitical strife that comes from that. That feels like you're doing the hardest part of the business on hard mode, right?
It is the hard. I tell people all the time that hospitality never sleeps. Mm-hmm. It's 365, 24/7. But we have a real obsession about it. Mm-hmm. And,
people would have to.
Yeah, we are, and we're relentless. We're always continuing to look for ways to improve. In the business, I talk about culture wrapped in commerciality, and you've brought up the word culture a few times. Culture is a behavior, mm-hmm. and the culture of our company right now is something that I'm incredibly proud of. If you see some of the awards that we've been winning, and Sunday Times Best to Work For, and mm-hmm. We're top of Review Pro scores generally around the world. Mm-hmm. Our guest engagement, our guest experience delivery is phenomenal, and you need a really strong cultural foundation mm-hmm. that kind of binds us together, and then you deliver on commercial results. But I'm totally obsessed about the engagement of our people mm-hmm. and leaning into them and their ingenuity and their ideas, and that's what I think probably sets us apart. So mm-hmm. if you've got a great strong base and foundation, then effectively that world becomes a little easier, but it's always going to be hard.
Yeah. I mean, I think the interesting to me about company culture is always, it's something that, especially in the operation space, there's a lot of people who talk about it and how important it is. And it's also one of those things where it's hard to define, but when you see it, you know what it is.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting to me to kind of think through, like, how do you get to that point, right? Like, it's obviously something everybody wants. Some people prioritize more than others, but as somebody who explicitly says this is one of my priorities, like, how do you get to the point of establishing strong culture from, building to building, property to property, country to country? Like, how do you carry that over?
So, well, first of all, whether we like it or not, as far as I'm concerned, we're basically a recruitment company because I love the work. I don't know if you've read a lot of the work of Stephen Bartlett, The Diary of a CEO. He's written some great stuff recently that I love. But in my world, I only want to hire A players. You hire the best and the brightest, you bind them to the culture, and then you let them fly.
Yeah.
Because you don't hire great people to tell them what to do. You hire great people so they can tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And we've been really successful in every region that we go to, is we're trying to hire A players, not B's and C's, and get the right people on the right bus and the right seats. And I think largely we've been really, really successful about that. And then when you do that and you bind them to this culture of excellence, and you're listening to them and you're taking their ideas and ingenuity, etc., then they deliver for you, and you can start to really fly as a business. And so we sweat the small stuff. I think we're, I don't say that we're always smarter than our competition, but certainly we outcare them. We're more obsessed, and we're focused daily on details.
It is the idiom on that isn't to what you were saying originally about who you hire to. Isn't it they always say people don't quit companies, they quit bad managers? Right?
Correct.
So
yeah, they do. And there actually really isn't one culture, because if you think about it, a manager of a hotel creates a subculture below them, which trickles down. What we do is we're trying to hire these amazing leaders around the world that, again, I keep using that word, as leaning into and binding to our culture. So their job is to make sure that those managers are very aligned with our core principles and the foundation of the company and in our DNA. And it's a fun one, because we do respect every single person that works for us, and we treat them all with dignity and respect. Because I've always said in my career, I was really fortunate, because one of my last jobs in South Africa was Cape Grace, which went on to win Best in the World, and I had some of the best mentors that taught me largely all the lessons that I've carried with me for my whole life, and I'm now trying to do it on a bigger scale. But you take a colossal risk if you mistreat or treat insincerely the people that work for you, that they're going to do the same thing to the guest. And that's why a lot of service interactions and service businesses are broken. So we're again, I use the word obsessed, I use the word relentless, as we are. That's what we're driven by. So if you are totally focused on growing those teams and listening to them and treating them with dignity and respect and wanting to see them grow. And we've got these great programs where they can grow through the company and keep them with you and grow their careers inside Valor. It's unbelievable, the energy that creates, the human energy. And so we, and I have all these things that I talk about, and if somebody does something one way, I do it the other. But even if you take, I hear a lot of people saying, we're just trying to keep status quo. I hate that. I think it should be status without the quo, and that we're always, we're always trying to think just differently than everybody else and how we go about our business.
for sure. So obviously, as we sit here right now, we are in Berlin. Broadly part of Europe, which is a region that you guys are well established in. It is interesting to me that this is a region of the world that whenever I talk to American-based operators, they always say, our big plan for this year is to move into Europe. It seems like the kind of third-party operator space is growing a lot here. As somebody who's established in the region, what do you make of that? How would you describe the kind of operations landscape in Europe right now?
You mean relative to competition coming in?
That, and just broadly.
Look, I think So they're all very different. So America is a massive animal.
Yeah.
So we and
It's
by
true
the
in a
way,
lot of ways.
yeah, it is. But I it is. I don't. I don't want this to sound arrogant, but I really don't care about competition.
Yeah.
Because I think if you spend as a company, if you spend your time worried about the competition, you're just trying to copy what they're doing and make it a little better. So we try to think really, really creatively. That's part of the reason that if you look at our tagline and the whole world of local and why we wanted to be in different parts of the world is because of the learnings that we take from there. But I'll come back to that. So I think the landscape in America, I've been told that we've got thousands of competitors, which, so be it. That's great. And I think we've scaled up nicely and the landscape is fine. I mean, we've grown there more organically. We've never really done a lot of advertising. UK, we were fortunate in 2013. One of our American clients set up a London office and we helped them buy a portfolio, which actually was a share sale and came with a ready-made management company, which we assumed. We've grown the UK I think we've more than doubled it in the last 10 years. So that's now over 40 hotels. You mentioned companies coming in. There are some American companies that are coming in because they want to be in the UK and Europe. They'll largely do that by investing. They've got funds behind them. But it's hard to come into a country that you don't know. And culturally, I'm fortunate because I'm a Brit. I'm from Scotland. So I grew up there. So I understand the British culture. I've lived in America for a long time. I understand that. Africa, I think, is going to explode. I wanted to be in Africa. Besides the fact I grew up as an adult there and spent a lot of time in South Africa. I think there's some great things happening in Africa, and I think they say that the middle class of Africa is just going to be massive by 2035. And I think as slowly as countries are getting new leadership and moving away from corruption, there's a lot happening there. And then obviously Middle East, but I think I hear the noise of other groups that supposedly compete and are trying to break into new regions, and that's fine. I mean, there's always going to be other groups. And they can call themselves white label and third-party management. I hate that. Yeah. I don't call myself a third-party manager or a white label. I think they're both shocking terms. I'm not sure what they mean. So I call us a FIMOS, which is a fully integrated management and operations solution. So let them have the third party and the white label.
I mean, isn't the most apt term just hotelier, right? Like, at Essential, like if you're the ones running the hotels, you're the ones who should claim that term, right?
Yeah, well, that's why I came up with the term hotalitarian.
Yeah.
We copyrighted it.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think that we fit in any type of box because it's not who we are. And I think we're just, when I say we're not smarter than our competitors, we're not. I think we're just more disciplined, and we do sweat the small stuff, and we are relentless about the business. But it's our people around the world. We've got some of the most amazing A players, and we've really lent into them and let them really help us and lead the business. And one of the things that we do really successfully that I know a lot of these competitors don't do is we actually corporately resource share. So when we talk about culture, you can learn so much from the culture of other countries. So we find the A players there, they bind to us, and then we learn something, but we leave. You always leave. When you travel, you take something with you, you leave something behind, but you take something with you. So when our teams go and they meet around the world, and let's say they go to Africa, there's amazing, beautiful, wonderful things about the African culture. And our teams from around the world will go there, they'll learn some of that, they'll leave some of their culture, but they'll take some of that and they'll adopt ideas and learnings in other parts of the world. And you can actually feel that in Valor. And I have so many people that say to me that they stay in Valor hotels around the world and they know it's a Valor hotel, which that makes me so proud.
Yeah. So as a company that is in a lot of places around the world, I'm sure there are places that you want to be that you are not. So has anything jumped to the top of your mind and like, oh, I would love for us to be here?
I look at it on the basis of opportunity and where opportunity comes calling. We like Australasia. We've got really good friends that are based out of Australia that have a large company there that we've been talking to them potentially about some sort of strategic alliance, which could be great for them.
And it's a pretty open market for the type of business that you guys run still.
Yeah, I mean it's a tougher market. We were in Bangkok in Thailand. We had to pull out during COVID, but there's a high probability we'll go back to Asia. And interestingly, one of the things that people say to me all the time is why are you not in mainland continental Europe? And there's 47 countries in Europe, and we've underwritten, because we do a lot of the underwriting for clients, we've probably underwritten 5 billion euros worth of product, and these clients have just never, they're cagey and they're a little risk averse, so they've not been willing to bid up to win these deals. But I could see us in a very short space of time being back in mainland Europe.
So, I mean, we already discussed the craziness in the Middle East, but I just want to check in with you about your kind of broad expectations are for the rest of the year into next year, and not just that region, everywhere. Like what are your what's your vibe on 2026 going into 2027?
I came into 2026 really positively, and I'm assuming you mean from a worldview and hospitality rather than just Valor, because my world tends to be wrapped up deeply in Valor and doing crazy stuff. Like I was mentioning Stephen Bartlett earlier. If you read his stuff, he talks about grabbing people's attention in 5 seconds in this crazy world of ADD, and we're really thinking how we do that. Especially if you go to our website, you'll see examples of that. But I think 26 was looking like a pretty good year, pretty strong. It's hard for me now to answer that question with any degree of confidence because I am
a bit of an unfair question.
Well, it's not really unfair, but I really wish I had a crystal ball in this Middle East situation. But I think it's been underestimated. And at first it was easy to look at it in a vacuum and say, okay, it's the UAE and it's Middle East and Iran, but it's not, because it's already. I hear that. Australia did a really bad job with their oil reserves. They've got like 23 days of petrol left, and you've got United Airlines are now laying people off, I believe, and that they've gone from having a record bumper month to fuel prices are going to affect airlines, which is going to affect cross, which means people aren't going to travel. So
they're already cutting flights.
Yeah. So honestly, I think 26 was going to be a great year. I'm still going to make it a great year for Valor, and 26 and 27 are really important years for us, given the growth trajectory and some of the strategic alliances that we've got going right now. But yeah, sadly, I think even if things were to calm down in the next week or two, I think the effects will be felt now through the end of the year, sadly.
Yeah. And that's probably best case scenario right now.
I think that's probably best case scenario.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the time. Sorry to end on such a down note.
No, it's fine. It's good. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Luke Haynes, People Newsletter Editor CoStar News, and the host of Top Credentials, a monthly podcast exploring the colourful careers of those working at the top of UK commercial real estate. In the episodes, we discover the valuable lessons influencing the daily decision-making of property sector leaders, and hear about the aspects of their job that make it a little easier to get out of bed each morning. We'll also ask for their views on the latest news and policies shaping our constantly evolving industry, and even get them to share a famous quote or song title they think defines their career or the profession. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode was recorded on March 23rd, 2026 at the International Hospitality Investment Forum in Berlin by Meredith Sheridan. It was edited for podcast by Sean McCracken. Visit costar.com/hotel news for more of our coverage and find all of our podcasts on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen.